Scott, understanding that it's going to be the first game for a number of veterans, but would it still be a reasonable expectation that it'll be a cleaner game tonight than the last one we saw at home?
Yeah, there's some familiarity out there, obviously, with line mates and defense partners, and we've got 4 to go. There's a lot of teams that have 7, 8 exhibition games. We've got 4 to go, and these guys all know now it's starting to ramp up towards our opener against Edmonton. So I'm expecting us to have that familiarity. They've been practicing quite a few days now. They're pretty hungry to get in the game, and I'd like to see it. Our execution and all those things that we're looking for. Our details that we start to ramp that up.
In particular, with the defense pairs, it looks pretty close to what I think we could expect in a couple of weeks in Edmonton. Is that by design, or what was the rationale behind that, Scott?
Yeah, no, I mean, these guys need to they haven't had a whole lot together, and at the end of the day, our battle is our 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, especially with Villy being hurt. So those guys will get kind of worked back into it a little bit, and then we'll just kind of work it from there. But our top 4 guys, I just want them getting reps together.
So Scott, how much stock should we put into these lines and pairings?
Well, the top 4, I mean, 100%. I mean, I'm not going to say on the other, just the rest of them, the lines themselves, our top line, I don't have Apple in there. I want to see Anderson Dolan. He was in the game the other night, but it's more, I want some of our top people to get some reps with the guys they play with, and I do still have a few battles going on here. Certainly we're still talking about that bottom 6 look, and then our defense, like I just mentioned. So we'll get these guys in, but I want our reps. These guys aren't going to play all 4 games, all our big guys. They're not going to play them all. They're all probably going to play 3 of the 4. So I just want to make sure when they're in the games, they're seeing a lot of the guys that they're with.
I was only being facetious about that. Because, it's like, there's a couple of guys that, in up front and on the blue line that you will be working in. But one thing that I am wondering about, though, is like seeing Brad at 2C right now. What is his path to the lineup, knowing that Cole is going to be playing on Friday and then he's going to be, like you said, in the top 6?
Yeah, well, like I said before, we don't know where we're going to be when Edmonton comes. We can go to Edmonton for the opener, whether that's injury or the situation itself. So I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance. I want to see a look, like we're seeing tonight with Brad in that position. Friday, may not be the same lineup, but at the end of the day, Cole's going to get in there as well. It's just kind of getting guys, having some familiarity with, taking different looks at things. I'm going to get Fetz, Vladdy, and Fly together sooner than later. I want to see this tonight. I want to see. It was actually planned anyways because I wasn't sure where we were at with Cole. With Brad between those 2 guys. So it just gives me more chance. Brad's going to see a lot of ice. Chiverkov's going to see a lot of ice. Those guys in these next 4 games are going to get an opportunity to still show us what they have.
Jared Anderson Dolan looks like he wins a lot of battles in practice situations here. What can he do for himself in a game to help get into your good graces?
Yeah, those things. Obviously, that's looking at him as a free agent, kind of looking at some of the video on him. And watching him so far to where we are in camp, he has that compete, something I've talked about. He's a dog on a bone, and he doesn't stop, and I love that. So I'll give him a good opportunity tonight to play with Lau and Nino, and just I told him play to his identity, and that's all you can ask.
How much do you establish in camps like this, who going forward in the season when injuries invariably happen, who the call-ups are going to be, or is that kind of decided down in the AHL as the season goes on?
A little bit of both. There's things that happen. Like I mentioned earlier, it could be injuries when we start against 7. It could be waivers because we still have to go through that. And then it'll be, whether, if our 13th forward is here, then going in obviously will be first look. And then from there, that'll be, we'll talk. What do we need? We need a skilled player. Do we need a bottom 6 player? What is it that needs to be called up at that time? So I really can't really say what that might be when we get to that point. Hopefully we don't get to that point.
As a coach, when you get to a time where you've got to make those cuts, how much do you take into consideration, when you're sending guys through waivers, waiver exempt guys? Do you just pick your best team, or do you put into consideration what the guy above you has to worry about?
Kind of save that question for next week. I'm not there yet. I'm still in the fitting guys into exhibition games and making sure I get all their looks. I have not, because of waivers, and we have a lot of them. I haven't really gone down. I'll let the one thing I've said to all these guys the night of the opening of camp. You're all given opportunities. You guys go out and battle. Give yourself the best opportunity. When it comes to that time for us to make a decision, don't cut yourself short. Make sure that you're giving us everything. So I haven't even gone down the road on where this is going to look like a week from now. So I'm just trying to look at these next 2 games. I want to make sure that I get a good look at our coaching staff, our management gets a good look at some of the players that we're talking about. Let them decide. The players decide ultimately, all right? Whether that's through their work ethic, or that maybe injuries. Sometimes things happen. We'll just kind of take it that way.
I'll be back in a week.
Gabriel Vilardi last year. What did you learn about Gabriel Vilardi's game last year, Scott, when he was available?
Yeah, I mean, that injury kind of set him back, but you saw the difference. One on our power play when he's out there, he makes a big difference. But his puck possession skills, his ability to work in traffic, to keep possession of the puck, even with 1 or 2 defenders on him. He actually is a real good passer. We know he's got a quick release, and he can shoot the puck in tight, anywhere, he gets in around that net. He's got a great release. But more than anything, I really got to learn about his passing. He can find people. He can make plays down low, and kind of like what you see on the power play, but he does it 5-on-5 as well.
What about his ability to win board battles?
Yeah, well, that's all of them. That's everybody. We talk about being a finished product in the NHL, and like we were talking about young kids yesterday, like that's part of what they have to grow and get better at every day is your wall play, both in our end and their end, protecting pucks, not being stripped of pucks. Gabe's good at that. He uses leverage, he uses his size, he uses his butt, he uses his long reach, he uses all those things so that defenders don't get pucks from him. I'm really, the biggest thing for him is that hopefully we're getting 82 out of him this year.
He sounds like, when he reflects on last year, and he missed half the year more or less, he sounds like he really wears the emotions of being excited by getting in 82 games, and also like it's like a motivator, like an aggravator, like it kind of bothers him a little bit. So.
Yeah, and that's his pathway so far in the NHL has been injuries, and he's had it in junior, and he just spent a lot of time with him in the summer. We talked a lot with him about changing his training, maybe not changing his training, but making sure that we were on top of what he was doing medically. Our medical staff stayed on top of him after the season ended. We really wanted to make sure that this summer was very productive for him, so that he gave himself the best chance of being in good condition, good shape, so that maybe these injuries don't happen as often.
Yeah, I guess that's one of my questions is, like, what can you as a staff do? And that answers it for the summer. But as he's kind of going through the feelings of it all this year, how can you push when you need to push and give him grace when you need to give him grace?
Yeah, I mean, like any veteran guy, I mean, they know their own bodies, and there'd be days where we've got a busy schedule, and Mullet may come in and say, hey, he might need this practice off. Well, that's all stuff we do with everybody. With Gabe, it's also him, him feeling good about himself. And that's the one thing about Gabe is when Gabe feels, like right now, when he feels good about his body and where he's at, then he's a pretty positive, upbeat guy about things. And it's like anybody. If you've been injured over your career, or you've had lots of times where it's knocked you out of lineups, you get very frustrated by it, and you get down on yourself at times. It's almost like it's your fault. But he's in a good spot now, and he's excited. And like you said, he's the one. We're talking about 82 games. That's his goal. He's not talking about 40 goals. He's not talking about. He's talking about playing 82 games. So let's knock on wood. Hopefully that all happens, and that because he's such a big part of, certainly a part of our hockey team, but a big part of that top line.